Now it's working. So an Arif tonight in Beit Gan, in the Moroccan shul, so one of the little kids from the Keitana came to daven with the Glon.
Oh yeah. No, Vincent, I see you're playing with the koyach of I've forgotten my expressions in English. You're just playing around, cancelling one out after the other. What about this?
Yeah, they're both on now. You can say which page on, what the date also they want to know.
Good. So the Zemshek Tov Reish Ayin Beis Kerech Aleph Omud Tov Yud Zayin, and tonight is Aleph Rosh Chodesh Elul, and he's a Deidi v'Deidi Li Tov Shin Samad Zayin. Alright, so we're holding by the union of Bia Maimon Chazal actually Nivra Ha'olam Hoya Shmei Bervar. And we said that L'Klalos, the union of Shmei Bervar was the union of Shem Havaya. That's how we touched at the beginning of the Omud. V'im Kein Harayei Shem Havaya Gam B'Erin Sheish L'Fnei HaTzimtzum. If we're going to say that there was a union of Ad Shaloi Nivra Ha'olam, then B'derech Klal and Tzidus we touch Ad Shaloi Nivra Ha'olam, meaning Ad the Tzimtzum HaRishon, up until the Tzimtzum HaRishon. That's called Ad Shaloi Nivra Ha'olam, because the Ika Pu'ula of Brias Ha'olam was the Tzimtzum. Ad Shaloi Nivra Ha'olam Shmoi. And so we're touching the union from Shmoi B'Shem Havaya. But that means that in the Ein Seif, prior to the Tzimtzum, there's also the union of Shem Havaya. Rak, Shezov B'Chinas is Pastasaya. That's in the level, Kedem HaTzimtzum, of what we refer to as Ispashtus Ha'oyer. We're going to draw the two madregas of Etzem Ha'oyer and Ispashtus Ha'oyer. Kiyodua. But the union of Etzem Ha'oyer is the union of Gilui HaMoya Bilvad. Ayin is Gilui HaChoponim, but Kol Inyan is Gilui HaMoya. Ispashtus Ha'oyer is already did Gilui Lemana Azulas. It's already the beginning of the Oyer, which will be at least a Moker, Sheba of the Oyer, which will become Shaykh to say the Shtauchelas. And therefore the Tzimtzum occurs in that Oyer Davki, which is the union of Ispashtus. The union Yedur, the Be'erin Seif, Shalfnei Tzimtzum, Yesh B'Klal Subchinas HaKol B'Atzmusei. Why do we say that the Kedem HaTzimtzum, Klalusei, is called Kolu B'Ha'atzmus? The union HaTzimtzum, because what was the Ike Pu'ulas HaTzimtzum? The Yesh Galas Kaviyachol Chutz Le'atzmusei. Kedem HaTzimtzum Kolu B'Atzmusei K'mosh Kosu K'moki Machel. The union of the Tzimtzum was to cause Ki'ilu, that the Eivisha was Megala to something outside himself. The Tzimtzum began the whole concept of there being another entity. Through the Tzimtzum became possible to make oilamas. And in those oilamas themselves, first of all there was Ne'atzolim, and then afterwards even Roim. So the Tzimtzum caused the whole beginning of Ki'ilu, the Eivisha being Megala himself to something. But that's what we call Kaviyachol Chutz Le'atzmusei. Even though, why do we say Kaviyachol? Because there's nothing Chutz Le'atzmusei. But at least it appears that Inyan, and that was the Uftu the Tzimtzum. Prior to the Tzimtzum, everything is just Kolol Boiz Borach, like everything is really Kolol Boy even after the Tzimtzum. But prior to the Tzimtzum, that is literally, to put it in the vernacular, that's all you've got. You have only how everything is really Botel V'Nichlal Boy is Borach. Mikol Mochim, B'der Prat, Yesh B'zeh Madreiges. Who B'chinas Ispashtus Ha'oyer, B'chinas Etzem Ha'oyer. This is Pashta, so I'm going, so we really learned this in the previous classes, I remember. Shizo, Atzilus, the Klolos, the Alter Rebbe writes in the famous Maimah at the end of Pasha Mas'ei, Ela Mas'ei B'nai Yisrael. Over there the Alter Rebbe is Mavaya. The Madrigas are what we call the four Oilamas, they are B'Klolos. We have Atzilus the Klolos, Odom, the Atzilus the Klolos, Odom the Bria the Klolos, Odom the Yetzirah the Klolos. Meaning, if we take the whole generality of the Gilui from the Atzmas ad the Sofa Atzilus v'Koilo Oilamas Piyah, then we can talk about how those four Oilamas are very Kloli. So he says that at the Ispashtus O'er, Koidem Atzimtzum, that's the meaning of Atzilus the Klolus. In other words, it's already the beginning of a certain appearance of the spheres, but they're still in a even Klolivum, Mudolim, the specific Gilui, how they are El Hamakabel, but that's after the Tzimtzum. So we call that Atzilus the Klolus. Hu Shem Havaya. That in the Indian of Ispashtus O'er, what that's Indian of Atzilus the Klolus, that's where we find this Indian of Shem Havaya. What Avaya is indicatory of Atzilus, Chochma Bina, then Zor and Malchus, but that's close of the Shem Havaya. There's an Indian how those Madrigas of Chochma, Moichin, Chochma Bina, and Zor Malchus are all of them Levadecha. They're still in Azarivan, that they're Mugdolim Boyes Borach, only him on his own. But there are Klolos now, Tzimtzum, Hu Shem Havaya. We could say that even though the immediate Gilui of Shem Havaya, or the immediate appearance, let's put it that way, of the Shem Havaya, albeit how it's still a Vadecha, is in these Pashtas O'er. But the whole Indian of Oyer, how it is, Koidem Atzimtzum, I feel in the Etzim of the Oyer, can all be described as coming under the general Hagdorah of Shem Havaya. So therefore he said that even the Indian of Shem in the Etzim Oyer can also describe or have an Indian of Shem Havaya. Op beginnen ze Etzim Oyer, Vispashtus Oyer, as op beginnen Yud K and Vav K. But Fize, we can divide the two Klolos Ifane HaMshocha Me'itoi Me'a'etzem in the Indian Etzem Vispashtus in two beginners Klolius in the Shem Havaya. In other words, that the Etzem will be the Nistoris LaHavaya LaKenu, what that's in van Yud K, Kiyadua. Model of Maila Megillah, I feel in the so-called ordinary Shem Havaya, how he is in Atzilus, and Shaykh to the holy name of these Shabbos, to know that the Moichin Amudolim BM is from the Gilui per se. Bamela, you'd say that Etzem Ha'oyer is that which is Mudali Atzmei Kaviyochel, but it's Yud K, just like the Moichin Lamata, BM is B'toicha Odom, and that's his own awareness of himself rather than his Shaykhas El Azula. The Etzem Ha'oyer Shalamayla Mibchinas Shaykhas El Oilamas, who B'chinas Yud K. Is Pashtus Ha'oyer B'chinas Vav. B'klalos who B'chinas Shmoi HaKolo Ba'atzmusay. But it's in from Shmoi, it's already a Gilui, it's already leading Be'ezeshu Derech toward something, but it's still B'teicha Atzmus. V'aymashen is Bulli or Perikov Dalet. כל זה הוא בעיר כמו שהוא בחינת המשוכר מן העצמות. איך שלא יהיה, אפילו עצם העיר, it's an Indian from המשוכר, it's an oil which is בנמשך מהעצמות. Therefore we must say that it's got איזשהו תכליס, but סוף כל סוף bring it under the general classification of things which were נמשך בשביל הבריאות. סוף כל סוף they were all נמשך. בכוונה זו, and all add and are all moisif Eishishu Kavona in the Klolos Indian of Ad Shaloi Nivra Ha'olam. Therefore the expression is Ad Shaloi Nivra Oilam. What that tends to imply that you're looking forward to the inyan of the Oilam. You're some way considering, in some way the inyan from Oilam is Oila be'ezeshu sfora or be'ezeshu kavona. Ad shaloi nivra, until that actually occurred, then we had, as it were, inyanim which are preparing the way and which are moisiv. They're ma'uirer, or those inyanim which are going to later be inyanim beneged to the Bria. And therefore take it that I was going to say that those are the two inyanim, Yud K and Vav K of Seivev and Mamale. So even the inyan from Etzemaya, well, that's going to be the market from Seivev. Seivev has a certain shaykhs to the world, on the contrary. It's the Ikai Tavis is really from the Seivev, and it's present, and it has also a influence and what you might call a guiding force in the whole inyan of the Bria. So that means that even the Etzemaya Koidem HaTzimtzum is Eishishu Hamshocha V'Gilui Mimenu. So something which is Hamshocha V'Gilui, then that was Kodmei Aheder. It was something that once upon a time wasn't that way, and now it's become that way. And Acheba say, it's not mamish the immediate inyan from Kol B'Tech Atzmus, because Atzmus is L'mayla Mikol inyan. He's Kodem and immediate inyan Akadma. So there was the Rebbe, that's the inyan of the two Yud K and Vav K. They are in the oil, which was already Nimshach Mia Atzmus. Yesh B'Zeh B'chinas Etzem Oil, She'ena B'chinas Gilu is Pastus Ayin, aber it's Nimshach, B'chinas is Pastus Oil, She'zeh inyan, Yesh Oil in Tzeif Mamale Mekeima Echolo. So here the Rebbe is Metayin, that the inyan of Yud K, which is an historic Lavail, later. That's the union of the Earl of Maila, me is pastors. Well, that was Lamaila also from being what we call Mamale Mekoima Acholo. Because if you say Mamale Mekoima Acholo, it's like we just said, Ad Shaloi Nivra Oilam, you're giving Eishishu value and Sinus Mokim Le'inyonim Eilam. Abarega, what you say, that there was a hollow which was mishmali alidei oyer zeh, means it's got some kilo and some shaykhs alinin a hollow. Otherwise, it's not sad to say mamalim is called mokima a hollow. Therefore, the fact that we say that there was a oyer which filled up the whole inyan, which became hollow, and mamela machias oilam is alidei zeh, then we have to say that that's only his pastus over here. That's a oyer which it's already that Yeshkan is a kavana, to make a hollow and to draw all what you might call the necessary derivatives from that inyan. Therefore, said the Rebbe, those two inyanim of a oil which is Lamaila from his pastors, and a oil which is mispashe people, even the Mamali, Mekim Hecholo, those are the two madregas of Mamali Kolom and Mesev Kalalmin, Shom Harishan Baerin Seif Shalifnea Achimto. To Mamali Kalalmin Ubchinis is pastus oil. Because the Bezehu Alias Horotzen Sha'ola Beretini Lahatilo Livroi leader inside that is pastus oil. There's already the kilo of the Alias Horotzen. But that's a mocker to the union of the Ashara Bakur. This is one, and the Ashara Bakur has already all the details, as it were, albeit in an even from Abdullah from any gather of Matthias cloud. But you're already talking about as already a consideration, as it were, called a protim shachreze is galo. Abamela the union from Aliyah Sarotzen lahat silu livroi already implies that rotzen is already a klal el prat, or it's a dover which is already considering the bria and the infant atzilus asfira. Obchinas etzema, who koidem aliyas sarotzen. Hariz obchinas sherish, obchinas seivev kolam. So like we saw, it's lamaila mi aliyas sarotzen part. Because the Yud K, it does have some distant shaykhs to them. That's the union of Seivev. We see that on the one hand, Seivev is Mudal, Betachlis. Bleed or Kisa, we call it Seivev Ko almin that it does have, like we pointed out a few minutes ago. It has a definite shaykhus and even a gather of shmira and effect, v'chuli, and so forth. It's the ikar koyach hamahaved when it comes to the hisavas of the elements and nifrodim. Then the koyach hasevi, he's the emissary koyach ha'atzmi, which actually brings that about. So sof kosov, the Indian from Seivei Kol Almin is a emes musik. He's saved, but he's shaykh to the Almin. Just that he's shaykh, even from how they call it, a poil, not in an even from koyach a poil, how they call it, banifal. But he's even from Havdalah, Mikoyach HaPoel B'Nifal. So kosov, he is really the emes Koyach HaPoel B'Nifal. He's the shaykhs to the ganze Indian, but he does it for even Shelamayla Mibchinas shaykhs gluya. That's the tight Seyu Kalam. But man, come to us that these two madrigas are all in the actually Nivra Oilom, how it's already Beis Hamshocha v'Yurida to the Infinite, despite the fact that one of them is Etzem. Goes over Pchinas Hamshocha v'Gilui Mina Min Ha'atzm. It's already a Gilui Min Ha'atzm. It's Kol B'Atzmusay, for certain purposes, but it's already been Mizkala Min Ha'atzm. Omnam Ha'ir HaKolu B'Atzmusay Mamash. Oh, but there's another Indian. Hamavua become a Drusha Chassidus, particularly from the Rebbe Nishmos Ayin. We said there's a HaKolu B'Atzmusay Mamish. In other words, it's not B'Hamshocha Mimeno, and it's not a Gilui Mino Atzmus, but it's Kolu B'Toichoi Eikshu Mudo B'Toich Atzmusay. Yehu she'ein b'chinas hamshocha min ha'atzmus klal. Rak kol b'atzmusay. I say, how can you differentiate it between it and the atzmus? Why do you call it a shem? If it's mamish kol boi, then he's l'mayla mikol hashem is. You word of pshat that you say it's afal pikein. Eizeshu inyan of shem. The Rebbe says that this is a famous doctrine. Brought down in Kamamakim and Samabov and other places. This is the Indian of Yechoilas. So that's the Musig of Yechoilas. Therefore, the Rabbeinu Marich in the Hezbollah, the Gridel HaFloa of the concept in Nefesh HaAdam of Yechoilas. What Yechoilas is what you can do, mitzad your ability, what you could really do. In other words, that's mitzad your etzem, and aim was the Agbolas. All the Agbolas are just in, when it's trying to come out into action, and then all sorts of tired in yonim mix in over mitzad the ability of the mensch, mitzad etzem ability shaloi. If you remove all the manias for ikuvim, then he has tremendously high powers that he himself doesn't even know about, or he hasn't seen them in action. Well, that's the Indian of Yechoilas, and that's the Indian from Yechoilas is a means of name or of a power in the mensch, but it's mitzad his etzem. But it's not mamish the etzem, it's what the etzem can do. So therefore it's like a yerida legavi the etzem, it's mitzad the etzem. So therefore said the Rebbe, that's the concept of yechilas. So he says, Masha be yechilta is porak lahoir. In other words, it's not a oir, it's just that he could, if he want, he could be mayor, he could give off oil. So that means that you've already gone down a little bit, mamish, from the Havdalah Mitias of Atzmusay. If you say he could do that, then to a certain extent you're causing a certain, what you might call, name within the Atzmus. You're somehow describing an ability that he's going to, maybe at some point, produce. But you're not talking about a Begolo, you're talking about how it is mitzad his etzem, that he could do that. That's one of the famous beer and the famous pilpul in this whole Indian in the Maimon of Samapor, Vayel Havayat Ayom, and afterwards the Maimon of Pasha Bishala, well, that's about Yellow Habayas Ayam, the other Maimon, which come by Hemshech there, but there the Rebbe must be the whole Shita of those who say there's certain Kabbalim that they say that Shmoy is connected with Dinim from Rotzen, Shmoy HaGodl, Shmoy HaAtzmi is returning to Yisbarach, and then there's other Shitas Benegeh to the union of Returning and the Ora Animshech Mimenu V'chulu. But over there, the Rebbe reaches, he brings down the Avodas HaKodesh. But the Avodas HaKodesh says, and the Rebbe's Meyer over there, Barichas, there's a union of Shmoy, the emissary union of Shmoy is Kadmoin Kikadmusai. There's a Geder in his name, Kaviocho, which is Kadmoin Kikadmusai. So, Berega, what you say that's Retoina, then they get into trouble, because when you say a thing is Barotzen, you mean that there wasn't a will for that. Now there is. The whole Inyan for Barotzen is that I'm Megala a certain Inyan. Well, that means that there was a moment or a state or a level where that wasn't necessarily the case. Now it is. That's the whole idea of Rotzen. Rotzen is not a thing which is by definition there from way back. It's something that you want, means that you all of a sudden you produce. Except for the famous concept in which also brought here in the same and Pesam Vav and Pesam Hay, there's the Shmoy Hamuchlat Mitzad Ha'atzmus Mamish, or how do you call it, the Rotzen Hamuchlat Mitzad Ha'atzmus. Well, that's not a normal Indian from Rotzen, Kemavur Sham. Well, that's a Dover Mitzad Ha'atzmus Mamish. And the Rotzoinos have a certain Shayras, but they're $1 to that Indian. When you say Rotzen, so there the Rebbe is Mechayev over there that the Shittas Avodas HaKodesh is, when he says that there's a union from Shmoy Kikadmusai, that he means not Rotzen and not any of the Giluim in Menu Yisbarach. No, he means the union for Yechoilas. He means that being as it is a term referring to what could be, that means that mitzad the Shleimus Ha'atzmas, that could be, of a berega, what you say that particular union could be mitzad the Shleimus Ha'atzmas, then you've gone down a certain step from the absolute Avdolah of the Atzmas, even though you're still talking about the Atzmas. So that's what we call the union from Shmoy. And that's called, however, actually Nivroim Hoy Shmoy. What's going on? The Shlach Kodesh brings it at the beginning of his word that the word who is who Ushmoy. Hu Ushmoy Aleph, or somewhere that as you say Hu Ushmoy Echad. The word who is Hu Ushmoy Echad. So Hu Ushmoy Bilvad is even higher than Hu Ushmoy Echad. Hu Ushmoy Bilvad touched the Rebbe in the Avodas HaKodesh is mentioned over there in that Hemshech. That's even higher. That's Mamish Dina for Yechoilas. He says that's Kadman Kikadmusai. With that the Rebbe is Miyashiv, the shit of certain Kabbalim, including the Avodas HaKodesh, but they tend to say that Hu Shmei Bilvad means that there's a Madrega in Shmei which is Mamish equal Kaviochel to the Atzmas. So he said, how can that be? Well, that's the whole peel what he comes up with over the Rebbe Din from Yechoilas. And then we say that Shmoy is Kadman Kikadmusai. Hainu b'chinas Hashem akolu bi'atzmusai b'chinas Yechoilas levad. It's all in the Madrega of Yechoilas. In other words, the capacity and the ability to produce any given Inyan without it having been produced cloud. We're talking purely mitzad the shleimus of the etzem carrying the ability to produce that Inyan. Amele, at that level, who Shmoy Levad means in the most ultimate taich that Shmoy Kadman Kikadmus. Hainu b'chinas Hashem akolu bi'atzmusei b'yechoilas levad. When it comes to you saying that oil that we described before, which is Baham Shochav Gilui, you can't say that that's Kadman Chas v'Sholem. Sharehu Gilui Retzoini. It's a Gilui what the Eivisha decided and he wanted that he should give forth that Gilui. The whole Gilui Retzoini Hare Ki'ilu Kodmaya aheder. Berega, what you say, that's a willing thing that he wants to produce, then that means that he didn't want to produce it bisman suyam, and now he does. That indicates that there was a time when that Inyan wasn't begolui. Therefore, you say that it's an Inyan which came which had the Inyan Rotzen. It's a gilui which the Rotzen was machadish that Inyan should now be. And so therefore, Berega, you say that a thing is mitzad gilui ritzoini, that the Rotzen wanted to produce over there, then you mean there was a point when the Rotzen didn't necessarily, or that Rotzen wasn't there. Therefore, we say that a thing which is a gilui mitzad the hechrech of rotzen means by definition that kodmaya aheder, there was a point where there wasn't such a inyan. But we're talking in what you might call in inverted commas the normal understanding of the word rotzen. As we pointed out, there's another inyan in rotzen which is not in this definition. It's the rotzen amuklot mitzad ha'etzem, but that's not a inyan of rotzen. But it's called rotzen. Those state in Tamavot that it's called rotzen mitzad shem kilo. It's not really a inyan from rotzen. Wherever you've got rotzen, then it means that you could have and you did have a point where you didn't have a inyan for rotzen. Racha oyer kamoshu b'chinas yichoilas levod b'zeh b'hechreach loyma shezehu kadmoin kikadmus yizbara. It's a dikadera. In other words, if mitzad the union of yichoilas with that shmoi mamish hakolo biatzmusay, then that is primordial. Pick to see with the Eibush himself is primordial. Like I said, in those drushim over there, the drushim of Yelach Hayam, and the one that follows it, Chodesh Hazeh, Yelachem Reish Chadoshim, that's Pasha Boy, the drushim. Wait a minute, Chodesh Hazeh, and afterwards by Yelach Hayam. I'm sorry. Those are the drushim where the Rebbe begins this whole pilpul, and then later in Pasha Vayakel and other, he reaches these conclusions that the Inyan from Yechilas gives us the ability to teach Hashem, which is Kadman Kikadmutzis Barak. He said he's Miyashu the Shitta of the Avedas HaKodesh. Achamishkasa Beirach in that Rush Umavur B'Mokim Acher the Gozei Yitztadeik Mashakosov Haginas Egois. Haginas Egois was a great Makubal. The Rabbi Yosef Gitalki is Rabbi Yosef. He was a very great, relatively early. He was before the Shloah Kodesh, but the Shloah Kodesh brings him down, and he was shot to the Yidden. They were shot to what you call Sfadim. I don't know how much it was really shot to be Mechalik in those days. He wrote this famous work called the Ginas Egois. It's a usage from the Lashon of the Pasuk El Ginas Egois Yoradati in Shir HaShirim. And it's a sefer about this thick. It's a Moyandik sefer on all the Shittais Kabbalah and all the Inyonei Kabbalah from the highest point all the way down to say the Shtaus. Gura Peladika Sefer, and if I'm not mistaken, the famous Sefer Shari Oiro, which is a similar type of Sefer but more like in detail about certain Inyonim, is also from him, also from the Rabbeinu Yosef Gitalki. Al Chaponim, so the Rebbe says, now we'll be on this basis, we can be Mavaya, and we can be Matzdik, or that what the Ginas Ego is, says Huva b'shlo b'tchilosei, but the shlo also brings him down. B'tchilosei, the Shem Havaya k'moishu hu bi'atzmus einu b'pchinas oisiyas. This is a very famous quote from the Ginas Egois. He's one of the ones that, even though it's very hard to talk about chidushim in these ignorim, but he was Megala and Madgish. This is put down many drushim. He says that there's a level of the Shem Havaya which doesn't, it's not Yud Kei Vav Kei. We call it a Shem Havaya, but it doesn't have oisias. So how can I people say in a second? Yeah, the Shem Avai Kemoshu Biatzmus Ein Bukinas Oisia. The Davka Ha'oyer Kemoshu Bukinas Amshocha Yesh Boy Oisias. Shehuinin Agilui V'oiven Agilui B'dava the Oisias. What that symptom is pashta. In other words, Berega, what you say, that you've got a Gilui Amshocha Mimeno, then you have to have Oisias. There must be Oisias. Kemavur B'samavov. That all Giluim come through Oisias. All Inyonim which bring the oil into Oisias is Galas. I feel these Galas, how it is in this level, are all through Oisias. And that's even if an Oisias Arashimu. The Oisias Arashimu Inyonim is what they are poil, the whole Indian of his Galas. I feel these Galas are Rashina, but they're Etzem oil. All of it comes through Oisias. So Berega, what you have Gilui, and you talk about Amshocha Min, Abdullah Sa'etzim, you got Oisias. So it could be that those Oisias are not called Kach, but Gosha in all the Pu'ula of Oisias that we talk about. But there is Oisias, yeah? And there are Inyonim. What that means, that there must be Madregas, Koidem HaTzimtzum, which Inyonim is Yud Kei Vav Kei, in the way that we understand that B'derech Poshet. Yeah, Chochma, Bina, Midas, and Malachis. That's immediately what he writes in the bracket. Because he knows that that's jumped into your mind. I am Mashakosa, B'divar Mashav, Tzisha Chag Shavuis, Reish Nun Vov, Eich Shashai Kol Zeh, Gamba Eren, Sefshel Lefnatzim. Even in the earth Lefnatzim, there's a Yud and a K and a Vov and a K. What he brings over there, the famous Bio, how all these Madregas are in the Eren Seif, Mamish, I feel in the Etzem Oer, the Yin von Yud, and the Yin von K, V'chule. Abamena, that's a Bio, and that's got to do with the famous Maimah of the Rebbe. I think it was in Mem Hey, what the Rebbe wrote in the Bossi Lagani Maimah that particular year, the whole Yin that there are even Tzimtzumim prior to the Tzimtzum Arishan. But they're in a different sort of Oifen, and he was Madgish that in, and it was mashma, the Rebbe was mamish being machadish in Yonim and Suyonim. But the beginning and the remes to those Yonim is in these Emshech. Particularly in that Emshech, what he brings it, well, then the Rebbe goes in the whole year. And it's well known that the Shvuas Emshechim from the Rebbe Hashem just take off. If you notice, you look in all the years where there's a Shvuas Emshech from the Rebbe, that's fleet away. If you look carefully, you'll see this goes to very, very high, and this whole iron base began with Shvuas, that's well known. This is a kilo, it's all the Emshech and Shvuas iron base. It's all the same. Over there, the Oisach Ayin, that he's Mavaya, the Abba Oisis, the Shem Mavaya, how they are Koidem HaTzimtzum. Like we were just Maramish, Yud K, Vav K, and he's Mad Behezbe Oruch, how they all look and how they function and interrelate one to the other, because it's mukrak from the Gina Sa'ed. If he says that the Yin von Ois is only Shach in the earth, which is between some Shocha and Gilui, then how does it function? So he said, look up over there and you'll see. Aval, he said, Bishmoi ha'atzmi, shuhu ha'akol bi'atzmusei, mamish, she'en b'chidam Shocha klal. No, that's the Yin, as we said before, the Yin von Yechoilas, ein shom Oisiyas. Who Avaya Beloid Alades is Avaya. So Prince Helem or Achmi the Ain say, Shalamayla Gamrim Prinam Shocha Vagila, my dungeon, Machim Acher. So we'll just finish off and then maybe we'll have a few words to say about this. Well, if he's a Yeshlema, the Gamba Erin Seyshel, if Neatzimtum, Shai Prinus Mem Stuma, like we were talking earlier, and this was. Yeah, the two Inyonim in the Afasa main. Yeah, the Inyan from Mem Stuma and the Inyan of the Sama. We saw that the Mem Stuma has got some sort of shaykhs because it's square, even though it's a makif and it's moved out, but it's got a certain squareness about it. But Elul the Sama indicates a much higher level because it's makif, but even shover, mikol out studying. So therefore he said that Bechinas Mem Stuma, the Einer Bechinas Seif, even how it is Koidem HaTzimtzum. In other words, he's Pashta So'er. Va'iku, Bechinas is Pashta So'er. That's the Yin of the Mem Stuma. Or B'derech Klal, Bechinas So'er, Bechinas Amshocha Mi'at. V'samach, Bechinas ההלם העצמי, שמובדל בערך לגמרי מהעולם והשתאו שלו. So further the remez is that even though the mem stuma is beika in these pashtas, but from the hemshech it's mashma that it's also koil de etzemah. Mashink in the Indian from samach that's paramas up the helem achmi the choiles or this Indian of the Shem how he's lamayla mioisius after what we call in the meaning from Shem Havai. So it's one on the famous Shalom that occurs the Rebbe brings over there in that hemshech a race involved. That how can you call it Havaya if you say it doesn't have the oasis? What's the Indian when Havaya if it doesn't have any oasis? So the Kina is he says of them zwei inyonim, zwei what you might call the heralds, which later become Niktov in this famous hemshech of Reish Nun Vav. And they occur here and there afterwards in the Drushim. And here's another example where it occurs Al-Choponim B'Kitzur L'Fiera. And that is that the union of Havaya can be taken as a mitius hiyoisiyas bara. The etzim, what you call mechuyav hamatzias of the atzm. In other words, how he's hoya v'viyeh mitzad mitius atzmas. Tahainu. That he was always there, he was Ein Lo Tchila, Ein Lo Sefer. Ein Lo Tchila is the emerson description, and Ein Lo Sefer is meant to be a dov tofel like Abi Indian there. The meat is mechuyavut shel matzius yisbarach. That's called Hi Yoisoi Hamiti, the emerson Verhanenkeit, the emerson being of the emerson. So that's called Havaya, because the word Havaya Sokosof is to be. It's the word to be, the etzem be. Another Indian in that is the davke from that madrege, davke from a mitis hiyoisa yisbarach, davke from dort kommt the power to be, Megala, the Indian of Yesh Mi'ayin. Davke from dort kommt the mitis koyach ha'ishavet. And that was called Havaya, that he's the one who's Mahava. So Davke from dort, but that's how it is, mitzad the shleimus ha'atzmas, l'mayla mi'oisias. In other words, now, these inyonim have their rimmers in the Rambam and in the Alter Rebbe. And this is a very fascinating case, even though a lawyer is it a cause of being foolish, but a you can say it. That here's where we see in many cases the famous similarity between the Lashonos of the Rambam and the Lashonos of the Alter Rebbe. That's one on the famous kesher what the Rebbe makes between the Alter Rebbe and the Rebbe. I mean the Rebbe of Mashiach. In many of the Sichos and in many of the Siyumim on the Rambam, the Rebbe finds a great similarity between the Alter Rebbe and the Rambam. That's one on the tremendous harotza that the Alter Rebbe had for the Rambam. So what do we see in the Rambam? The Rambam says two inyonim. He says first of all, he says that there's a thing what he calls imitus himotzoi, and he begins with Yisaydas ve'omada echachmas. In other words, that's Rosh Hashanah Havaya. So why is it only for Rosh Hashanah? Why is it only Kilo Beremes? Because he's talking about the Indian of a mitis hiyoisa yisbarach. Well, mitzad of mitis hiyoisa, the Shem Havai is only Beremes. It's nicht poisi, it's mamish. He told me mitzad. That's Kilo Shmoy Ha'amiti mitzad amitis ha'atzmas. And then he says, Mi amitis himatzoi nimtzo kol anim nimtzoim. In other words, mitzad hiyoisa amiti. Or mitzad amiti is hiyoisa yisbarach. Only he can produce the Havaya. Only he can make the Havaya amitis with us in the Yesh Mi'ayin. And in the Alter Rebbe, it's even more. In the Alter Rebbe makes it even more mavua. The Alter Rebbe out there in Simon Kof, he said, "Who, levade she'ein lo ilu v'siba hakodem lo yizbora." In other words, that he's the amitis hiyoisei hu. Chuyev ha'metzias lo kodem lo yishum milu v'chas v'sholem. Type that on. Hu levade b'choichoi v'yicholtei lahavis es hayesh v'ayin me Ve'ayin ve'efes ha'muchlak. In other words, the davki in that imiti siyoisai. Hu levade sheloi kodma loi ila v'loi siba chas v'sholem. Amiti is he motzoi, and that's the emphasis of Havaya. Amiti is a davki from them kommt the koyach. And there he's even more. The Alter Rebbe says koyach v'ya choyltoi. In other words, we're talking about the inner of the choyle. So Amiti is, but that's shmoya ha'atzmi, and it's lamayla mish oiz. It doesn't mitzad atzmi. Aber avol begins called the choyle. The Alter Rebbe is meramis in the prote Ayin and even more. But das was stated in Rambam. But the Rambam says that the emissary he is part of Yud Kivav, okay? Und davke von dort kommt mi amitis imot loy nimtzau mi amitis imot. It all just happened. Gave a keine weiß nicht wie sagt das kann sein. Nimtzau mi amitis imot. Philiplo. The Melos Mamis aber der Alter Rebbe moisi protim I feel like we would state in Rambam. Over there in Reish Nuvav, the Rebbe in the Sofa Biur, he brings that and he says that's the Indian of the Gina Segas. That's what the Gina Sega. And if I'm not mistaken, the Gina Sega is in his Sefer Alain. He writes that how do you have a Bli Oasis? He says, Who amitis he Yoisi v'have ose, ho amitis mechuyev mitziusa yizbar. And if I'm not mistaken, he himself says the Davke Mishon. The amiti is koyach ha'havaya to bring about and to make. If I'm nimtza that you got this amazing yichud between the two concepts of havaya. Havaya hiyoisoi and havaya emachta hiyoisoi. You make a hiyois. And that's the inner v'yesh me. Yeah, does not tell the Rebbe only he what he is amiti is hiyoisoi. Yeah, but he can do that. That's what the Rebbe says. So that's the Sofa Biur, but again, Linyaneno, that's the Mem Stuma with the Sama. Kita, Achayin in who the Bechokmas Timua, we saw that two Madregas, Yesh Madrega Pina Sosum, Rachmina Makablim. We saw that that's our which it's a Meshaita Makablim, just that it's higher than their ability to be Masi. Okay, Lefiomi Miskala, it can't talk be Miskala. Yeah, but certainly Ite Rotzen of Bismanim, that they will be, there'll be an Aliyah in Keilehem V'chulo. Upchin Sosum Bietem, which is the Maila, we get a Gilu. That's higher than the whole concept of Gilu. Who in Yemem V'samar. Ubat Thomas Azoya, we saw that was Igula V'ribua, the inner from a circle and the inner from a square. Igula, yeah. Shilifnei, Igor HaGodel, I'm sorry. Igula is Igor HaGodel, Shilifnei HaKar. Well, that's the Inifan Tihura Ilah. We said that was the Oyer, how it is in an Eifan, from Oyer HaBoyer, Oyer HaTzorayim, how it is in an Eifan from Mudal and Havdolah. Veripua is Tihiru Tatoah, but that's already the Inifan Oyer HaMalbish, as we typed it, we had all big Arichas. But that's already the oil, which albeit it's still Lamaila, but it's Malbish, it's already Shaykh to what we call Makif Akore, it's like a Malbish, but it's Lafi, as you might say, the middle of the Malubash, but that's already the that's already the of the Makif Akore. Or be Ayman Kamelach Shuin in Tal Oisias Havaya. We saw in the Ayman Kamelach. He bought that was the union of the Dalad that the Malbish is the union from the Dalad Oasis of the wife. In Ken Shariklema, the Gula Lamaila Mishem Avaya. If he's there, if we'll say that the union from Ribua is the union of the Dalad Oasis, then it follows that the Emes of Samach, that's the union from Igul, is Lamaila Mishem Avaya. If he's there, Yesh Lema Beis Amatregas, Kamnef Neat Simso. We can say the Shmoya Godel Ushem Avaya, Hakolo Biatzmusay, Shaprin Sam Shocher Mina Et. It's Taka, Ayin Van Oya Kolobat. See, but it's Sam Shocher Mina. Omnon, Shmoy Kadmin, Kekadmusay, what that's the way I just hear, who Hakolo Biatzmusay, Mamish, who Prinas Beloya, who Avaya Beloya 8 years. Who Prinas Ahelama Achmi, but that's the Indian of the summer. In other words, a Helam Adayatsis Mamish. But in that Helam Gufa, two nuances like we just saw. But that's what the Emek HaMelech says at the ending from the Shem Havaya. He means the Oasis of the Shem Havaya, how their Mamish Havaya, which is sharp to the Indian ultimately of the Yisavit. We were talking about the Indian from the Havaya, how it is Koidem, Lamaila Legamri, Mish Tauchelet, over Sof Kol Sof, it's got Epis was a Gilui Klapayim, and then Mitzad the Atzmas Mamish, the Shem Havaya, in the Atzmas, Mitzad the Yechilas Shalat. Ayin hu. The hine yedua sheyesh Beis b'chinas makif. We'll just learn another couple of minutes now. The yedua sheyesh Beis b'chinas makifim. You got makif the Yoshor or makif the Choizer. Well, anybody's familiar with the famous Hemshech of Basi Lagani, towards the end knows over there these two inyanim also. Amkabel biyu miyuchad. When I get to the whole over there, it comes at another angle, and it's aiming for other inyonim of these concepts occur over there beherch of abiyu. In other words, v'hakel mitzad mashpia davki. In other words, there's a makif how the mashpia gives what we call ur yosha. In other words, he gives straight light, the light which goes down to the makablim, and slafi erech makablim. You got a mistake over there?
Mitzad HaMakifim.
Beis b'chinas makifim.
No. Kol Mitzad HaMakifim. Kol Mitzad HaMakifim.
Kol Mitzad HaMashpia. You've got Kol Mitzad HaMakifim. Yeah, no, it's Mitzad HaMashpia. That's what I got here. And it makes good sense. Later we'll see tough case. Because there can be a makifim, how be'ika we talk about Mitzad HaMakablim. Here we're talking about makifim even hamiti. These are makifim mitzad mashpia. Was it the taich? If I say that a makif is mitzad makablim, then that came from the mashpia, but it means how the mashpia has been ages or even matim himself to the makablim. You say that certain inyonim which he gives are too much for them. What you might say li'esato, or maybe even behemshech, and therefore they remain makif after makablim. Or be'ikah, the whole concept of makif is mitzad makablim. Over makif, which is mitzad mashpia, well, that means he gives it malachat chila, but even kozeh, that it will be in a even from l'maylihem lagamri. And in that gufa zwei efanim. So it's mashma that the zweite inem, which is the makif the choizer, which means that it's going back always towards him, well, that's going to be a makif which that's going to be hard to understand. Why does he give such a makif? It has no, it's completely and utterly sosum mia makabel altogether. It's not b'chinas kiruvel of cloud. And even the makif the yoshor, we're also going to see remains alchoponim be'ika inyan. It remains lamaila because it comes mitzad the maila of the mashpia, what you might call mitzad the avdola of the mashpia. The makif the choizer shemitzad makabel umashe boikea v'oila milmata lamaila k'mashkos mokimacha. After the makabel has literally taken and he's had a certain beetle to the which he received, then through his aveda the as well goes back, and he gives back what he received, and it goes back in a very high form of what we call oyer choizer, of its davkili achrei, what it had a certain relationship to the makabel, but then it as it were goes back to its source after having literally, as you might call it, hit him after it's come into his inyan. Then it's boikea v'oila b'chazor. Yesh makif de'er yosho shemitzad makabel u'ma shenizbur li'u perek reish shamashpia mishayeh chushi makabel eich limdoid ashpa. In other words, that's also mitzad mashpia, but he's been mishayeh the chushi makabel eich limdoid ashpa. So according to Eslef, he's there that he's already been machamtim himself, the mashpia, to understand, as it were, to picture what are the chushim and the kelim of the Makabel, and he's going to give him a Zol Chinyonim, which will be able to be received by the Makabel, over the fact that he has to be Messiah, and he has to be Mitzamtzim himself, to be Moided those Inyonim, how they are into the Makabel. Then that means that when he gives certain Inyonim, what they are, going to remain Makif ala Makabel, even though he'll be Makabel Inyonim Mamish Lefi Kelo or Lefi Chusho, but there'll always be a certain Inyan, but eventually he'll be able to get at it if he works really hard. And that's the Inyan Adar Boim Shnin, Koyamina Shatat, the Rebbe, even Lamatam is there. The truth is, it's even a little bit less than that. A soft kosof, he gets the emissary message of the Inyan. After Belechatchila, it remains Makif Allah. But why do we say that's Mitzad Makabel? Because the Tzad Mashpia gave him a dover, but Mitzad him. First of all, the Mashpia considered him. And the Inyan from Choiza, and the Inyan from Amitius, Inyan, even Mitzad Makabel, is a much higher Inyan where it's not meant really to be Mishkabel, Makabel, but Alidei, the beetle of the Makabel, the Inyan, and certain Inyonim. In his Avedla, he brings over there in the whole Hemshech of the Basi Lagani, even from Kil B'Sil's Nefesh, the Maila Mitam Vadas, then he causes a certain aliyah of a Bekia of the oil that he got, even though it's like Amri Lamaila Mikoy Cha'isav, or he causes it to be Uila B'Chazor, L'Shor Shoy, which means it's Tzokol Safet, even though it's higher than him, but it was meant for him to deal with it. So therefore it's how the Mashpia reckoning with the Makabel. But, and therefore it's called the Inifan Ur Yoshev, Ur Choyze Mitzad Makabel. Ach is it Yesh Pinas Makif, the Ur Yoshev, Ur Choyze, the Hakur Mitzad Mashpia. And we're going to see that those are very, very high in Yonim, until it's going to ask the Shaila on the part of the intelligent reader, what kilo is what is the benefit, Lagavi the Makablim, of these hashpoyas? Because they remain makif. One of them is in the Infanoil Choyzer, it's always going back into the mashpia. It never really gets towards the Makabel. So if it never really gets towards him, then what is you Mahu Ayin Bezeh? So we're going to see that ultimately speaking, Dave Shigit Tosei. But then he gives it in Azar, which is not Paterah Kilu Vamshocha al Derech Harogim, as you might call it. He gives him the whole caboodle at one go. And that's not what we said before, the Maki Vavah Chayzim Mitzad Makabel. This Mitzidim and Afu Pikeni, he gives him the whole bag. And it's going to be much Be'em Shechadvorim, that Alidei the Avodah from Yom Kippur, the Avodah from Sukkot, and Yezechet to that particular Madrega. From the Choyza, that is Mamish Mitzad Mashpia, which means that the Inyonim of the Yom Neroim, particularly the Sukkot and Shmini Atzeres, the Inyonim is to come to those Inyonim which are not really shy to the Makabel at all. The Mamish Mitzad Atzmusay and Afu became, right, he gives them down, which means that there are certain times of the year where your whole Inyan is not Mitzad your own avodah. It's really it's all Inyonim which are just leading you. But if you weren't, how do you call it, bottom, or if you didn't trade on HaMelech, on Rosh Hashanah, then you wouldn't get it. I think come to it. So there we said, the Bechinas Machir, the Mashpia, Bechinas Machir, Elia in Beis, Asher Bilti Mishkala, Lamata, Klalu, Klalu. So there you are, but you're going to get it eventually. You're going to get it. Yeah. And that's higher than all Inyonim. It's kilo a matona, but it's a matona that you really did earn it in a very strange way, even different than what we say B'derech Klal. In other words, it's the whole Inyan from Tishrei, that whole sort of click that occurs from Yom Kippur down through Sukkot and Shmini Atzeres groups. You can see here the groups relatives. Lo boivan muvan klal. That's why Tishrei is so a big bang. Under Oiv. Even more than normal Mesiras Nefesh. It's the Nachlas HaKlaus, I tell you. Certain big Bali Mesiras Nefesh, there's to unbelievable inyonim. But with this inyonim, what Dave gives to everybody, Tisha.
What about Elul? What is it?
Elul is already got everything included. As of the Rebbe, Melech Mashiach, become on cave. And even from Melech Besod, it shows that you got even more, then you'll get it later, you got the whole thing, and that's the Taish Melech Besodeh. He himself is there in the field. Atzmas man. So he gives you, as it were, the whole thing before you get it. So you've already got it. If I tell you that in order to get to that, you've got to have some sort of a hakdoma. You can't just do that. It just doesn't go. First of all, we make hakdoma, and then afterwards, boom. Kein yesh lema, v'telachas. Then there's a famous question, what about it if you went to Elul and you weren't that you weren't the same? Alpha became. One way or another. That's what I have to say. One way or another, got out to go to Shleima. That's all this. It's just going more and more marvel in your regular, isn't it? I don't think good for it. ממש. מפשילים שבמפשילים. Anyway, let's not talk about those inyonim. We'll talk about the skate round and Melech Besodeh, Gilead. And in a way that you can get at him, this is, I call it big day hasodeh. Okay, guys. So be well, and we'll meet in the Soda with the Melech. Take it from me out now.